You hear the sound of horses in the distance. They're becoming closer and louder. You notice a misty shape making its way along the lane, and as it approaches, it transforms into the shape of horses pulling a carriage. The coachman is headless. He pulls the reins and the horses stop at the main entrance of the hall, and a lady steps out of the carriage. You notice that she's headless too. She walks into the hall, and the horses and carriage disappear. Welcome to Ghost Tales by the Fireside. This episode covers Blickling Hall in Norfolk, a historic building that was once home to royalty and is supposedly haunted by the headless ghost of Anne Boleyn and many others. If you are listening to this podcast on YouTube, please consider supporting me by subscribing, as 64% of listeners aren't subscribed, and it really does help. Thank you. Blickling, in Old English, means Blickler's people. There is evidence of Neolithic, Bronze Age, Roman and Saxon settlements in the area. It's listed as a settlement in the Domesday Book, in the 100 of South Erpingham, in Norfolk, and in 1086 it had a population of 44 households. In the time of King Edward the Confessor, the estate was owned by Harold Godwinson, who later became the last Anglo-Saxon king of England, who was killed during the Battle of Hastings in 1066. It then passed into the hands of Bishop Hurfast, followed by William Bifo, Bishop of Thetford, during the reign of William the Conqueror. It was known as the Bishop's Country Palace. The estate's convenient distance from Norwich made it an ideal location for the bishops to maintain their personal land. They built a palace with an adjoining park, which served as a countryside retreat and a residence for conducting official business. As evident from the institution books, numerous bishops frequently resided there. The estate enjoyed several liberties, such as leet, or view of frank pledge, a size of bread and ale, a gallows, and a cooking stool. In the 15th century, Blickling Hall was under the ownership of John Fastolf, a prominent figure who amassed his wealth during the 100 Years' War. His coat of arms is still displayed within the property today. The estate later transitioned into the possession of the Boleyn family, with Thomas Boleyn, the future Earl of Wiltshire, and his wife Elizabeth, residing there between 1499 and 1505. Although the precise birth dates of their children are uncertain, it's believed that all three of their surviving offspring, Mary, George and Anne, were likely to have been born at Blickling. A statue and portrait of Anne Boleyn, the most well-known of the Boleyn family, can be found at the estate, bearing the inscription Anna Boleyna hic nata, 1507, which translates to Anne Boleyn, born here, 1507. Blickling came into the possession of King Henry VIII, who separated the added land from the manor. In 1546, the manor was granted to Sir John Clare. The current Blickling Hall was constructed upon the ruins of the original Boleyn property during the reign of James I. Sir Henry Hobart, Lord Chief Justice of the Common Pleas and 1st Baronet, purchased Blickling from Lady Agnes Clare in 1616. He married Dorothy Bell, the daughter of Sir Robert Bell of Beeprey Hall, who served as Speaker of the House of Commons from 1572 to 1576. In 1698, the estate was inherited by Sir John Hobart, the 5th Baronet, who was later elevated to the Earl of Buckinghamshire in 1746. During his tenure, he made significant contributions to the property, creating the Doric Temple within the grounds, as well as expanding the park through the acquisition of neighbouring land. His son, the 2nd Earl, further enhanced the hall between 1765 and 1785. Although the estate was passed down to the 2nd Earl's youngest daughter, Caroline, who was married to Lord Suffield, the couple's lack of children led to the property eventually devolving to Caroline's nephew, William Kerr, the 8th Marquess of Lothian. Under Kerr's ownership, the west front of the hall underwent remodelling. The estate continued to be passed down through the Kerr family over the generations. During World War II, Blickling Hall was requisitioned by the government and transformed into the officers' mess for the nearby RAF Elton. Following the passing of Philip Kerr, the 11th Marquess of Lothian, in December 1940, the estate was bequeathed to the National Trust under the Country Houses Scheme. RAF personnel were housed in Nissen huts within the grounds, while officers resided in the house itself. The adjacent lake served as a training site for RAF servicemen and women practicing dinghy drills. Following the conclusion of the war, Blickling Hall was returned to the National Trust, which subsequently leased it to various tenants until 1960. At that point, the Trust embarked on a mission to restore the house to a style representative of its storied past. In 1962, the house and grounds were officially opened to the public as Blickling Estate and continue to welcome visitors today. The library at Blickling Estate is home to one of England's most historically significant collections of manuscripts and books, comprising an estimated 13,000 to 14,000 volumes across 146 linear feet. Sir Richard Ellis, a cousin of the Hobarts of Blickling, curated the core collection. The expansive Blickling estate spans 4,777 acres, including 500 acres of woodland, 450 acres of parkland, and 3,500 acres of farmland. The tale of King Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn started as an extraordinary love story that captivated the nation. Due to the inability of his first wife to produce a male heir, Henry took a drastic step to secure the succession of the Tudor dynasty. He defied the Catholic Church's stance on divorce, leading him to establish the Church of England. This unprecedented move enabled him to annul his marriage to Catherine and wed Anne Boleyn. Their passionate courtship had already commenced prior to this, fueled by the king's infatuation with the captivating Anne. The marriage between Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn was short-lived, spanning a mere 3 years. Despite its brevity, the union resulted in the birth of their daughter Elizabeth, who would later ascend to the English throne as a powerful monarch in her own right. Unfortunately, Anne's inability to provide Henry with a male heir became a source of great frustration and anger for the king. Anne suffered several miscarriages, one of which tragically occurred on the very day of Catherine of Aragon's funeral. These events compounded the strain on their already tumultuous relationship. The miscarriage occurring on the day of Catherine of Aragon's funeral marked a turning point in the ill-fated relationship between Henry and Anne. Accusations of witchcraft, adultery, and conspiracy began to swirl around Anne. Meanwhile, Henry's new mistress, Jane Seymour, had been installed in palace quarters, signalling the impending dissolution of his marriage to Anne and his intention to move on to a new relationship. With the increasingly dire circumstances surrounding Anne and the growing favour of Jane Seymour, it became inevitable that Anne would face severe consequences, ultimately leading to her tragic execution. On May the 19th, 1536, Anne Boleyn's life came to a tragic end at the Tower of London, when she was executed under charges of treason and incest. The night before her death, Anne is quoted as saying, "I heard say the executioner is very good, and I have a little neck." The following morning, she was beheaded. A mere 10 days following Anne's execution, Henry married Jane Seymour, demonstrating the king's eagerness to secure a male heir to the throne. By this time, Henry was 45 years old and declining in health. However, his desired heir never came to fruition. This significant historical detail, which has inspired numerous films and books about Henry VIII, ultimately altered the trajectory of history, paving the way for the rise of the Elizabethan era in England under the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. According to local law, the ghost of Anne Boleyn is said to have returned to her birthplace. Each year, on May the 19th, the anniversary of her death, a ghostly apparition is reportedly seen roaming the estate. It is said that Anne Boleyn is seen riding a coach driven by a headless horseman. According to witnesses, the eerie scene abruptly disappears as the coach reaches the hall's entrance. 2 days before Anne's execution, her brother George was beheaded. When the news of Anne's death reached Blickling, a chilling apparition was witnessed on the village grounds, the ghost of a headless man being dragged by 4 headless horses. Many believe this haunting spectre to be the spirit of George Boleyn, tragically connected to his sister in both life and death. Blickling Hall's spectral residents include not only Anne and George Boleyn, but also their father, Thomas Boleyn, who played a crucial role in arranging his daughter's ill-fated marriage to the King, Henry VIII. According to local law, Thomas's misdeeds led to the loss of both his daughter and his son, and as a form of divine retribution, he is condemned to traverse a dozen bridges between Blickling and nearby villages before the roosters crow for 1,000 years. Suffering the same fate as his children, Thomas Boleyn was beheaded. Legend has it that his headless spirit wanders the area, carrying his severed head under his arm. In a chilling twist, instead of blood gushing from his neck, an eerie flame is said to emanate from his mouth. This haunting tale of penance and family tragedy adds yet another layer of intrigue to the captivating history of Blickling Hall and its ghostly inhabitants. In addition to the tragic spectres of the Boleyn family, Blickling Hall is said to be haunted by 3 other, albeit less theatrical ghosts. Legend has it that the spirit of Sir John Fastolf still lingers within the hall's corridors, compelled to finish unresolved matters from his earthly life. The presence of Sir Henry Hobart is also believed to be felt in the halls of Blickling, as his dying groans are reportedly heard every year on the anniversary of his death. These eerie sounds emanate from the west turret bedroom, serving as an unsettling reminder of the hall's storied and tragic past. The apparition of a spectral figure known as the Grey Lady has been sighted by various witnesses. This ghostly woman, draped in grey attire, is said to glide silently through the corridors of the hall, passing effortlessly through solid walls as if they did not exist. The identity of this mysterious figure remains unknown, yet her presence continues to fuel speculation and intrigue among those fascinated by the Hall's haunted history. Thank you for listening to Ghost Tales by the Fireside. If you enjoy this channel, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. It's very appreciated. You can find out more information about episodes on the website, ghosttales.co.uk, and on the Facebook and Instagram pages at Ghost Tales Podcast. All music, research, writing, production, art and sound effects are all my own.